Tavern where our story begins, with a band of misfits and their original sins. Got a map in my pocket and a sword on my hip. Let me tell you about this adventurous trip. There's Hobbs, the bold, a tabaxi rogue, and Erowyn, the druid's friend to every toad. Thorn, the baker, who's totally not a warlock, and Echo Fire's punches make zombies drop. Drs Vs Dungeons, where fantasy reigns. Drs Vs Dungeons, break those chains. The DM is cackling behind their screen, planning the deadliest traps you've seen. But we'll face the dangers with dice in hand, creating legends across the land. Drs Vs Dungeons, where fantasy reigns. Drs Vs Dungeons, break those chains.
Alright, so we are back with part of the team at the moment for episode 5 of Dragons of Stormwreck Isle.
Hello.
In episode 4, we saw Hobbs awakened from his nap after missing his stop at the island, and then convinced the captain to turn that ship around and sail back into the storm. Meanwhile, Erowyn and Echo Fire were early risers back at Dragon's Rest, with Thorn having a GCS of, I think, 3 as he lay amid his brownie crumbs. Thorn, you had actually slept well early in the night, but you were woken in the dark hours before dawn by a gnawing hunger. Maybe you could actually fill us in and tell us how you ended up comatose in the kitchen surrounded by your baking.
Well, when I use the infernal oven, which produced the pastries, my the fiend who holds my pact punishes me if the pastries aren't eaten immediately. Hence why I ate my Dreamy Star Pie, despite knowing that it will send me into a deep sleep. And so I was forced to eat 3 more Dreamy Star Pies until my deity was appeased.
That doesn't sound like a healthy warlock pact relationship. Do you need to talk to someone about that?
Oh, look, I don't think she's got my health in her best interest, unfortunately.
Sean, is there such a thing as a healthy warlock pact?
I mean, I'm sure that we can find someone who's not going to poison him.
To be fair, it's not poison. It just has some untoward effects while providing us with some benefits. For instance, this Dreamy Star Pie will... Oh, sorry. I've accidentally powered it up. Will allow me to have a +1 to my next insight check after waking.
Fair. Interestingly, though, in that almost supernatural herbal-induced slumber of the Dreamy Star Pie, you did dream. The dream begins with the warmth of a well-tended hearth, the scent of fresh bread filling the air, and you stand in a kitchen much like the one from your childhood, flour dusting the countertops and the flicker of candlelight playing against the stone walls. It's a familiar comfort that it's almost enough to make you believe you're home again. But then, the fire in the oven flares too high, and the air thickens with heat. Shadows lengthen unnaturally and the flames shift, twisting into something that is hungry and aware. And a voice as deep as the burning coals and as smooth as melting butter rumbles through space, and it says, "Remember who stokes your fire, Baker." The kitchen warps, the walls blister and crack, revealing something ancient. Jagged, blackened stones, molten veins pulsing like a dragon's sleeping heart. In the center of it all stands a great iron oven, rusted and monstrous, its mouth gaping wide like a maw waiting to be fed. The voice continues. Stormwreck Isle holds a flame older than the both of us. A fire once sacred, now fading. You will find it. You will stoke it. And you will claim its warmth from me. A vision takes shape within the depths of that oven, a brazier forgotten in a ruined temple, its embers barely alive. There are faint, draconic carvings around it depicting figures tending to the fire with reverence. Something about it feels not just sacred, but untouched, pure. This is a fire that does not belong to the infernal furnace. But the voice darkens. Others would see this flame snuffed out or left. You will not let that happen. You will take it before it is taken from you. The oven door slams shut, and your dream just collapses into darkness, leaving only the echo of the final words. Awaken, my baker, and do not disappoint me. When you succeed, then maybe I will provide the answers you seek. And as you wake in the empty kitchen at Dragon's Rest, you suddenly realize that the sound of that oven door slamming shut may have been something that came from the real world rather than part of the dream.
Oh, what was that?
You're alone, so there's no one to answer that question.
Rhetorically, he asks. And I find myself in the kitchen where I was digging through their supplies. We'll see if any recipe books I don't recognize.
There are no recipe books in the kitchen at all.
Fair enough. Kobold
Just
food's
supplies.
terrible anyway.
Don't let them hear you say that. Are you going to stay in the kitchen, or are you planning to...
Everyone's awake now.
If you do look out of the kitchen, you'll see that having come in here in the dark hours before dawn, it is now definitely daytime.
Okay, sure. I walk out of the kitchen, just to see what my compatriots are up to, or have been since I fell asleep. Oh, I wonder how many days I've been in there. My neck feels stiff. I shouldn't have slept on the bench.
Indeed.
He also has a charcoal mustache.
Love it. Beautiful. Thank you. As you start wandering potentially up or then down, or down the cliff pathway, I mean, metagame at the moment, you can see exactly where your compatriots are, but you had left them in the temple, so I'd like to imagine you might have checked there first. But as you wander around looking for them, they are further down the cliff with Myla, the alchemical sort of kobold, and they are attempting to make gunpowder out of owl poop. You don't know that yet, but you'll see them soon enough. Now, before we go further with you guys, Echo Fire and Erowyn, I'm just curious, like, given where we're sitting currently on that path outside Mila's cell, how close to each other do you think you are? Like, are you set up right next to each other, almost working together? Are you a little bit further apart? Is this team effort? Is there a degree of competition of who's going to make the best gunpowder?
What I'm hearing from your voice is that we should be about 30 feet apart.
Oh, that could be an overestimation. I just want to know, how close are you?
Well, we only have one water skin so we've got Thorn's water skin that's full of bat guano. And then we've got the giant bag of sulfur, so I kind of thought we'd be roughly in the same place, but...
So I think what's happened is Mila has brought out some very large mortar and pestle mortar and pestles for you, because as she's explained to you guys, you need to put the right combination in of the owl poop and the sulfur and the charcoal, and you need to grind them all up with just the right amount of water. And so even though you've only got, say, one stock of the items, you're going to need to portion that out into these mortar and pestles and get to grinding. But cool, looks like you're about 10 feet away from each other. Now, at the end of the last episode, I did ask the two of you to roll for me something that you thought was appropriate for the skill of making some gunpowder. And Echo Fire gave me a dexterity check and rolled a 19. And Erowyn gave me a survival check and rolled a 13. Now, Echo Fire, whilst you have never done this before, something about it feels instinctual to you. You settle into a rhythm using the mortar and pestle to grind and combine that guano, sulfur, and charcoal with just the right amount of water. And Mila actually sort of hovers looking over your shoulder with approval. She hasn't actually made this before either. It's quite theoretical at this point, but she's sort of watching your technique, and as someone who is interested in alchemy and chemistry and magic and inventing things and just science in general, she can see that you've got a technical knack, and she's quite impressed. Erowyn, you find this task a little bit more difficult. Perhaps you're distracted, I thought, maybe inspecting the guano to assess the owl's health. Perhaps it's just that making something that's intended to have a violent outcome doesn't sit as well with you as you might like. In good news, you do manage to make gunpowder.
Excellent. I guess Erowyn's a bit of she's never been really a fine details kid. She's
bucket chemistry.
So like baking wouldn't be for her. There's too much measuring and careful quantification of things. She kind of prefers to wing it. So I can imagine how this has gone slightly astray for her.
Yeah. And so look, as I say, you were lucky that you managed to get things just right enough that you're making usable gunpowder. But in the not so good news, your technique lacks finesse. Your grinding is not that smooth, and your water to powder ratio is a little bit off. And as you're trying to make all of this work in front of you, it explodes.
Predictable. Dex save?
Yeah, so everyone in a 10-foot radius of where it explodes needs to roll a dex save, and so that will include Mila. Cool. Mila did not save her dex. Erowyn
also did not. Yep.
Cool. Echo Fire, do we have a...
Where is it on D&D Beyond?
on
So
your
on Beyond,
character
your saving throws are all at the top. It's the plus whatever to Dex.
Saved.
I'm going to do it twice.
You went twice, but I mean, we'll take the first one because it was your first one. Look, on that note, Echo Fire, you must have just been so much in tune with what you're
Monk
doing right now that
reflexes.
you jumped a little bit further away.
Erowyn has no eyebrows.
For Erowyn and for Myla, that's a 3 fire damage. Technically halved if that's a successful save. So that's a 2 because 1.5 rounded up is 2 fire damage for you, Echo Fire. And perhaps that might be a good spot that in the aftermath of you guys working out what just went down, Thorn, maybe you've wandered down the hill by this stage and found your friends?
Yeah, what was that noise? What are you guys doing with the bat poo?
Echo Fire did it.
Wait. Are you actually trying to lie here?
Erowyn points.
Deception check, please. Do you want to contest that, Thorn? Do you want to roll against it, or do you think it's really?
He's got +1 to
lie?
insight.
Oh, let's go. Which one am I doing? Inside?
Yeah. Roll an insight check. Add your +1. Let's decide whether or not you think Echo Fire did it. Oh wow!
Yeah, no, she did it. It's definitely her.
Oh, jeez. Thorn looks suspiciously at Echo Fire, who is very, very much so, actually, better for wear.
Who is completely unharmed compared to the eyebrowless druid and the burning kobold.
Not completely.
An inkling of suspicion arises in Thorn's belly, but says nothing.
How was your sleep?
Echo Fire also says nothing.
Oh.
Well, hello, my friends. My sleep, I feel refreshed. How long was I out?
It feels like it's been several weeks.
Longer even.
Well, it was, how shall I say this, magical.
You look refreshed. While you were
I'm
out,
not on fire.
Yeah, well,
No.
lucky you. You would have been resistant. Maybe you should mix this next time. While you were out, Renara asked us again about going to the shipwreck of the Compass Rose. She thinks that's the source of the island's zombie problem. I was browsing the garden with Tarek this morning, and he also has a problem that needs our help. A group of myconids that he normally, where he normally sources heartcap mushrooms, has become shut off or isolated, and now there's a giant fungus zombie octopus monster. I think I keep adding adjectives to that, but it sounds really exciting, and I really want to see the zombie octopus monster. But we weren't sure that either of us could really tackle that our own. So we thought we'd better wait for you and see what you think.
The zombie, octopus, fungus monster?
Fungus monster. Yep. Sounds cool, right?
Sounds delicious.
Mhm. I mean, only if he's not our friend. If he's our friend, then you can't eat him.
I'm sure it can spare a little bit. They'll just regrow, don't they?
Mila starts muttering about the fact that these are that no, they do not.
Yeah, I don't remember whether or not they regrow.
No, clearly you don't with a nature check of 4. Mila says
druid
that
ever.
she's fairly certain that they don't.
Yeah.
Ah,
Okay.
I see.
Well, Septipus would be okay, I guess. But yeah, we weren't sure which way to go, and in the meantime, Echo Fire continues her pyromania, and we've refined gunpowder.
Excellent. I think we should go meet this fungus octopus.
I mean, I'm pretty excited about the fungus octopus. We would need to go and talk to Tarek and get the directions to so it's in a sea cave, which he tells me we can either, I think, row into or walk to depending on the tide, but we would need to talk to Tarek again anyway. Unless there's anything anyone else wanted to do.
No.
Nope.
Okay, we go and find Tarek.
Before you leave here to go and find Tarek, Echo Fire and Erowyn, can you each roll me 1d4, please?
Yeah.
Very nice for a 4. So curious that despite the bucket chemistry, Erowyn made a lot more gunpowder. Maybe it is because Echo Fire was actually being so careful to make it properly. What you guys have just done is roll for how many powder horns of gunpowder you each managed to make. So, Carmel, you have 1, and Sean, you've made 4. And if I've done it correctly, you guys should actually both find in your journals the stats for gunpowder in a powder horn that I've popped in your journals.
Yep.
So it's not. It's an item rather than an actual weapon, in the sense of you obviously have to place it somewhere and then set it on fire. So it's not like you roll. When I say it's not a weapon, Carmel in particular, it's not like you roll to attack with it. It's just that you pop it somewhere and then you need to give me a valid way of making it burst into flames. And then you can see that it will give you each creature in a 10-foot radius on it would do a DC 12 dex save, and it will do 3d6 fire damage on a failed save or half as much on a successful one. So you've got those to carry with you. You can add them to your backpacks. Would you each just take what you've made? Erowyn
would offer her. Yeah, I was going to say Erowyn would offer hers first to Echo Fire, but also I guess to Thorn, although Thorn's proclivity for being in and around fire, it's there if anyone wants it. Erowyn doesn't mind. Otherwise, she will she'll tuck it into her backpack, but she's happy to share.
I do specifically need to know who carries how many powder horns. So I do need to know.
Echo Fire, do you want any more than one?
Echo Fire, if you want to take one of Erowyn's, and Thorn, do you
I'll take one.
accept
you
any?
you can have as many as you want. Erowyn's plan is then to stash them before we go anywhere, so we won't be adventuring with a bag full of gunpowder.
Fair enough. I'll take 2.
Okay.
Please.
2
Thank
for you.
I'll take 1.
Okay. And then my remaining
That actually
one.
leaves me with only 1. Yeah.
Yeah. So my remaining one will probably get stashed wherever we're sleeping. Actually, probably not where I'm sleeping. It'll probably get stashed under someone else's bunk.
Cool.
10 to 30 feet away from me.
Probably wise.
Mm.
Probably. Yeah. Cool. Well, just
Maybe give it to Milo.
run away later.
Milo can experiment with it.
No,
got
Milo
now.
plans on making more now.
Oh,
She's
okay.
just really excited, and she does actually say, she says, "Oh, look, now that I've seen that it actually is as easy as it ought to be, you know," she says, "I'll make some more." And so if you guys end up
you can
using
renovate
what
your
you've
chamber
got-
and make your chamber bigger. Your chamber's quite cluttered. You could cut a new cutting into the rock.
Did you just call that clutter?
I
I know where
You're
everything
yeah.
is.
Yeah. There's a system. I can see it.
There is. If you need a paper clip, it's on the floor by the back leg of that chair over there.
We go and find Tarek.
Cool. Tarek is in the garden again. I mean, basically, I say again, but to be honest, just still, he hasn't left since you spoke to him this morning. So a reminder, I guess, for the characters who haven't seen Tarek this morning, we have a cat. That Tarek is a male human, late middle-aged, pale-skinned, but tanned and freckled, an auburn hair and a beard that's mostly grey. And there are some faded tattoos peeking up the side of the neck from beneath his robes. And you find him in the garden, still gardening. He's just, pottering around, pulling up weeds here and there, just doing the little things that need doing, trimming things that need trimming. And he's quite friendly in general anyway, and especially because he's already had a lovely chat with Erowyn this morning, he's particularly friendly. And he says, oh, have you come back to talk about going to the Myconids for me?
Erowyn has her mouth full of goodberry currently. So she's just, while they've been walking down, she's trying to grow her eyebrows back. So she's going to eat some goodberry, but she, with her mouth full, goes, yes, yeah.
They haven't grown back just yet, and he says, something about you looks a bit different.
Yeah, Echo Fire did it, but that's okay. We want to talk about our baker has arisen. So I was telling them about the Myconids and the octopus guardian, and we're pretty keen, I think, to go and have a look into that for you. Can you tell us more about it?
Yes. Oh, thank you. So, yes, look, I've been trading with them for years. They give me the special heart cap mushrooms, and that allows me to make the potions of healing. And they've always been so friendly, but it's just that recently it's been different. There's this fungus octopus monster at the at the entrance to the cave, and he doesn't want to let me past, and he just turns me away. I'm worried. They've never had a guardian before, and I don't know what's going on in there. I mean, partly it's just I'm worried about running out of my mushroom supply, but I'm also worried about them.
Erowyn sort of nods enthusiastically and looks to everyone else. What do we need to know?
Well, I mean, as I said to you before, the caves are down on the southwest side of the island, and you can get there. I mean, obviously, to get there in general, you can either take the rowboat around the island, or you can go cross country. To get into the cave itself, if you go at low tide, you can actually just walk in. If you do go at high tide, you'd either have to swim in or potentially take a boat in, take a little rowboat in. The tides shift every 6 hours, so either is an option. But obviously you're going to have to watch this. You're going to have to watch this monster thing, and I assume that you'll have to. I assume you'd have to fight him to get past him. I mean, otherwise I would have gotten past him by now, but I couldn't really fight him alone. And I can give you some sort of composty scraps to take with you. The myconids will love that, and you can offer them that and tell them that I sent you.
Okay, yeah. I think that we can tackle that, and I think you told me about the tides, or Renara told us about the tides. Someone told us about the tides, and it's about every 6 hours.
Yes, we spoke about it this morning. Yes, roughly 6 hourly. Look, it's high tide now between sunrise and noon. After noon, it'll switch back to low tide again. But I mean, let's be honest, it's going to take you, oh gosh, it's about a 7-mile walk. It's probably going to take you about 2.5 hours to walk there at the moment. So by the time you get there, it'd almost be low tide.
Okay. All right. She looks at Thorn and Fire, and
Seems like pretty good timing.
okay. All right. The three of us should be able to handle an octopus, right?
I mean,
I think so.
you did handle those zombies.
I mean, they handled the
Those
zombies.
guys.
I was busy sleeping. Okay. Well, in that case, then we would get some directions, a sense of the path or the way across land to access the cave. And
You've
about
two main choices.
Hmm?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. I was just
Sorry,
about now. Luna, the giant owl, kind of flutters in and takes up a perch on the edge of one of the garden beds. Yeah, sorry. Two main ways of getting there.
So he does say that even when you're walking, you can choose whether you go along the cliff tops or whether you go sort of more along the coast by the beach. The lower route obviously is only going to be available at low tide, so you'll at least have to start by walking along the cliffs. But as the tide goes out, you'd be able to get down. There are plenty of places you can get down the cliffs, and you could pick your way among the tide pools if you wanted to. Just going to reveal this map for you. go.
Nice.
So you guys are currently at that little purple spot. That's where Dragon's Rest is. And if I might just grab a different color and mark it out for you. The Seagrow caves are down over here, where I've popped the green.
Sure.
And so he would usually choose to row himself, but that's what he likes to do. And he says even though rowing is technically a bit of a shorter different distance, he says the walk is actually easier.
Erowyn looks at her tiny biceps and says that we won't be rowing.
Fair enough.
Fair.
What happens if we
okay.
get stuck though?
Oh,
If we walk down and then the tide comes
yeah.
in, how are we going to get back?
Is the whole cave submerged when the tide is in?
No.
Just the
Only
entrance?
the sort of antechamber part of it is submerged. I mean, if you've gotten in with my friends and the tide comes back in, they'll keep you safe until it goes back out again. You can swim out is the other option.
Okay.
And I think we talked to Renara about what else lives on the island and got a sense that there were some native animals that might be a problem on an overland trek, but not anything specific.
There was definitely mention of sort of, shall we say, rogue kobolds. So there are kobolds who are not necessarily aligned with her. And then she was kind of vague about the rest, and she sort of said, look, I would just advise you to be cautious. You never know. You never know who you might awaken, and you never know who else is here on a journey which may be for good, but may not be. But I do think that while you guys are preparing to head off on your journey across the Seagrow caves, I think it's time we headed back to that carrick and found out what was happening with our cat. I do love that song. So, Hobbs, when we left you last week, the carrick had turned around and was well and truly back in the storm, tossed about on the waves, and a rather poignant song actually drifted above the wind and the waves, and you saw the seasoned sailors around you actually succumb to this lure and become enchanted. You yourself and some of those sailors were sort of just able to shake off the hold of whatever this was, despite the way it seemed to sink deep into you. And you glanced over just before we ended last week and noticed that the mesmerized helmsman was standing slack-jawed as the tiller just slipped through his hand. And that was kind of where we left at the time.
Yeah. And I wanted to bite him to try and shake him out of his stupor.
You did want to bite him to try and shake him out of his stupor. Would you like to roll for biting him?
Sure. Where's my character sheet?
roll for Toxo.
So which
Yeah,
one
that's
do
a good point.
Which one do I roll?
You should be able to do an unarmed. I think we'd do it. Well, I think we'd do it as an unarmed strike. Like it's
Unarmed.
just. I mean, we'll say teeth go.
Oh, yeah, I've got
unarmed
my
strike,
cat's
I would
claws.
say. Oh well, that'd do. Let me see what you've rolled.
Did that do a
for
thing?
me. No, I don't even need to
Aw.
roll for that. No.
But my claws.
It's actually kind of funny because I think what happens in this scenario is that you pop your claws into him really deliberately to try and get him out of where he is, and you realize that he's a little bit like, an armchair, and you can just sort of spend some time there
Ooh,
scratching your
that sounds
claws on
pleasing.
him, and I guess he's just not reacting at all, just like an armchair. It doesn't seem to be working.
Oh, no.
And because he's not even holding that tiller, the carrack banks sharply to starboard, just like a piece of flotsam on the rough waves. And at that moment, some of the enchanted sailors simply fall overboard, neither aware of their own fate nor of those around them. And the song reaches a crescendo and the mist parts, revealing a dark silhouette on the wreckage of another ship. Your eyes naturally seek the origin of the voice that you've been hearing, and you spot it perched up atop the crow's nest of the mast on this other ship. It's a twisted figure with matted feathers on its wings and legs that look almost like those of a vulture, but with a head, a torso, and some unnaturally long arms as well as the wings, and that looks almost human. Its beady eyes are glinting hungrily in the stormlight, and it clutches a large bone like a club. Another wave surges, and again the carrack is rocked violently, and the ship's prow slams into the submerged rocks with a splintering crack. And this impact throws you and the remaining crew off your feet. The main mast groans and snaps in half as rigging and other debris just rain down. Salt water rushes over the deck. And the creature stops singing and cackles a cruel laugh. She sits above that mast. She just laughs. And then she spreads her wings and she flies off into the storm. You're still on deck. The ship is groaning and sort of breaking apart slowly on the rocks that it's on, right near the other ship. As I said, some of the sailors have gone just clean overboard. Some are clearly already deceased or so injured that they're quite close to it. Is there anything you want to do?
So can I still see this creature? Is it within range to shoot with a bow?
It's now flown off into the storm. You can't see it.
Okay. Are there crew members in the vicinity that I could plausibly help?
The only one that you're still near, who appears to be still alive, is the helmsman that seems to be bleeding more from where you'd put your claws in him before than from anything else. And he's sort of, if you look over to him and perhaps expecting that he'd be fine now that the creature has flown away, but he's not quite as not here at all as he was a moment ago, but he's still taken by something. He's still quite mesmerized, and he's sort of mumbling and not very coherent and not sort of doing anything particularly useful or purposeful at this point in time.
Okay, well, I will try and lead him safely off the ship.
Okay. In what way?
How big am I?
Yeah, like standard humanoid size, I assume.
Oh, humanoid.
Smallish humanoid.
Okay.
Smallish humanoid. I mean, you're a
Smallish
cat, but you're a big cat.
Okay, yeah. I was just wondering, am I like a woody cat? Or... Okay, smallish humanoid. So I will... and relative to this helmsman, like, can I fireman lift him?
I mean, you could if he cooperates.
Let's give that a whirl. I will say to him, I'm going to try and help you. I'm going to, well, how much time do I have? Like, can I ask him, can I see, do my, doctor's ABC and just like see how responsive he is? And if he's not very responsive, then I will attempt a fireman's lift. If he does seem he'll respond to some verbal cues, then I will try and...
How do you wish to check for that response?
I will yell out, "Helmsman, are you with me?" Maybe with a gentle poke, without claws.
Without claws. He startles when you poke him. He responds more to the physical touch than he does to you having spoken to him. And he's sort of mumbling and he's sort of going, we must follow her. She's going that way. We must follow her. And he points. She'll need us. We must follow her.
Which way is he pointing?
Do you look which way he's pointing?
Yes, I'll look which way he's pointing. Is he pointing after that creature thing?
You assume that he would be, but he's actually not. As he points through the mist to sort of the other side of the wreckage, you do spot some movement, and it's a lone figure stumbling onto the shore. And you realize that you recognize her. It's the captain. She's soaked, drenched in the salt water. She's clearly bleeding from a gash above her eyes. And she's moving purposefully, but it's sort of slow and dreamlike, with one of her feet sort of dragging behind, and she appears to be sort of muttering to herself as she drags herself up the beach.
How suggestible does the helmsman seem? Like, if I grab his hand and pull him, will he kind of come with if we're going in the direction of the captain, which is where he seemed to want to go?
Yeah, I won't make you roll for that. He'll come. Yeah.
Cool. Let's mosey and catch up to the potentially zombie captain.
She you watch as she's walking, the broken mast is actually lying across her path, and she stumbles over it and barely even flinches. She just keeps going in that direction. And as you get close enough to her, you can hear her muttering, and she's saying, "Home, I'm coming home, I'm coming home."
How close am I to her now? And the helmsman's with me, kind of. So we're on land now.
Let's say you're about 10 feet from her. You've made it to the shore. And what she is stumbling towards is actually the wreck of the other ship.
Oh.
And her hands are reaching out to it, sort of grasping at something that it's almost as though there's something there that only she can see.
I'm going to run and tackle her and try and see if I can shake her out of it. No claws. I won't poke holes in her yet.
Okay. How? So you just want to shake her out of it? Are we going for a non-lethal
Go for a
unarmed
tackle.
strike?
Oh, let's go for a
Grapple?
tackle. Yeah, sure.
Sure. That's a contested strength usually, isn't it? I'm probably going to need to give her disadvantage on account of the fact that she's a bit.
Can I do a well, I'm also behind. Can I do a sneak attack? Like an unarmed kind of.
Oh, I mean, she definitely is not seeing you coming.
Yeah.
So you can have advantage, she can have disadvantage.
Cool. What do I need to click to make things happen? Which one? Strength? Or
Do you want to give me a roll?
Yeah,
it's
strength.
Strength?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's usually strength, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, strength or athletics or
Yeah.
acro.
Athletics?
Athletics?
Yeah, nope, that worked. Okay, now you're giving me lots of rolls. First one works. Okay, so she is grappled. Now that she is grappled, what do you wish to do? You've stopped her moving.
Yeah, Captain, what's going on? Where are you going?
Home. I'm going home.
Is there still any song that I can hear?
At this point, no.
Where do you think home is? Does she respond?
Home. I'm going home.
Oh, maybe I'll have to slap her around a bit and see if that wakes her up.
She's not fighting you off, but she's pulling still in the direction towards the wreck. Slapping her around in what way?
Claws retracted, but I'll give her a good solid flip across the head and see if that wakes her up. Unless I had a fish handy, in which case I would Monty Python fish slap her.
Death by marrow jerky.
Yeah.
That sounds terrible.
Doesn't have the wet.
So
it's not the wetness I'd really want, but yeah.
slapping her with fish enough to need to roll an unarmed strike, or just sort of tapping her like?
Well, I don't know. She looks pretty out of it. I reckon I'm going to give it a good whack with a fish.
Okay, I'm not sure what to ask you to use for whack with a fish, but maybe we will call it an unarmed strike. I mean, technically armed with a fish, but you know.
Just a smallish fish. So which one do I click again?
Let's do an unarmed strike.
Where is that?
Should be under your attack options.
Perception, sleight of hand, stealth.
Or look into actions, maybe.
Are you using beyond? Are you using beyond, or are you using Roll20?
On Roll20.
Hang on a minute. I have to load mine to tell you where it is.
I'm just trying to bring it up. I'm just finding a character sheet. Maybe it has to be the cat's claws for you. Maybe you don't have an unarmed strike.
It's usually just your plus your
point is you have
it's your strength or dex to hit. So it's usually like whatever your strength or dex modifier is what you, and it's one.
So
yeah, and then it's 1 plus strength bludgeoning damage if you actually hit them.
Oops, so which one do I press? Cat's claw?
That makes sense, yeah, because that's a +3 attack, which is your dex.
Okay.
Cool. I don't know why you're still rolling with advantage, but either of those would actually hit her. So you can roll for some damage.
Don't want to hurt it too badly. How do I roll for damage?
Is there another button
just
next
to
to
the
that?
right of the cat's
yep.
claw? Yep. Cool. So you've done 3 slashing damage to her. And in good news, that was what needed to happen to break the enchantment.
Oh, good.
So having damaged her, she drops out of the enchantment that she was in and is aware that something hurts, that she feels wet and smells like fish. And she is actually quite lucid now and well aware that she was enchanted by a harpy, and she sort of looks around and she says, is it gone, tell me it's gone. And she's like, hold on, we're not on the ship.
It's like, oh, I'm sorry, the harpy and the storm, the ship is gone. You were walking towards this other wreck, and
my crew, where's the rest of my crew? She sees only you and the helmsman.
Unfortunately, the only 2 I could see and save were you and your helmsman. Several of the others were thrown. A few others followed the voice off the ship.
You see her face cloud with what is clearly grief, but at the same time she's the captain and she's still very much where she needs to be. And there's a moment where you think she's about to break down, but she sort of takes that deep breath in and she looks around and she says, all right, first things first, where are we? This is Stormwreck Isle. That's the Compass Rose. And at that point, we're going to leave it for tonight.
He's back.
He's back, but on
If
the
only we'd
completely
chosen to go
opposite.
on the other quest.
Just
We're coming to
For
save you,
your-
Hobbs, in 3 to 4 episodes.
yeah. So
Are you
just
gonna
that map
meet
that
the?
I gave you before. I've given you a little green cross to show you where you Seagrow Caves are. The wreck of the Compass Rose is up in my little red cross.
Oh, I can't see the red cross.
Up there, pinging. Oh, that's because the screen that I'm sharing is not showing it at the moment. Let me move my. There you go.
Oh, okay.
Can you see my red cross? Yeah.
I can.
So yeah, quite opposite ends of the island, really.
Are you going to see the octopus creature?
Oh, I think that was the plan, unless we
Yep.
get a magical vision or something between now and then. No.
Yep, that's the plan.
Next week could be
Okay,
fun.
Don't drink salt water, and most of the mushrooms on the island are not edible.
Okay.
You're not that a
We'll
one
get
in
to you
that
when we
though.
can. All right.
Cool.
Well, same time next
All right.
week.
Same
Excellent.
time
Thanks,
next
guys.
week. Sounds good.
Welcome to the tavern where our story begins, with a band of misfits and their original sins. Got a map in my pocket and a sword on my hip. Let me tell you about this adventurous trip. There's Hobbs, the bold, the tabaxi rogue, and Erowyn, the druid's friend to every toad. Thorn, the baker, who's totally not a warlock, and Echo Fire, whose punches make zombies drop. Drs Vs Dungeons, where fantasy reigns. Drs Vs Dungeons, break those chains. The DM is cackling behind their screen, planning the deadliest traps you've seen. But we'll face the dangers with dice in hand, creating legends across